Welcome back into episode 57. So 2 weeks ago we were on the fuel lines coming under the car. Last week we're on the brake lines, and this week we're back to the fuel lines. What I want to try and do is wrap up this wheel arch, which basically houses the fuel pump, the filter and the fuel accumulator, and all the various connections that click it all together. Some of those are no longer available, so I'm going to have to use my head a little bit there and try and work out what to do. But that's the focus this week. And this is all stepping towards getting the fuel system all working, get the engine back in, we're all golden. So let's just jump in. As ever, subscribe, click the like button, leave comments. I do like the comments and the discussions. But let's just get on with it and see what we do. Right, this feels like one of those days that I prepared for the last 6 months. And finally, I'm going to try and do it. So what I'm talking about is the fuel pump, fuel filter and fuel accumulator. Now my car, either the previous owner or someone before that, took the fuel pump off of the cradle and moved it into the inner wheel arch, so the rear wheel arch, sorry. Because the cradle is different and it's all, the complications I've been through, I'm going to leave it in the rear wheel arch. There's a bracket ready for it, which I've sort of cleaned up and prepped there. It's kind of safer in there because it doesn't get all the mud flicked up on it. Okay, you're going to say it's get mud flicked up from the wheels, but if I put the liner in, it sort of tucks it away quite neatly. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, that's where it was, that's where it's going back. It has the pipe run across the top of the wheel, inside of the wheel arch around like this, and then it comes to the accumulator and the filter. Now, I don't know if you can see, but this U-bend pipe, no longer available from what I gather. No one seems to have them for sale, so I've actually fabricated one. I haven't actually made it. I got in touch with a fitting company called copro.com, and the guy kindly made it up for me. I'll put the link to his website in the description, but it's where I bought all of the fuel fittings. They're fantastic. Not particularly expensive, but they are the proper ones. They're the real deal. So this is the U-bend. Now I've been measuring this up inside the wheel arch, working out how long I need it. Obviously this is too long, that'll poke out like an aerial from the wing. I need to cut it down about here. Now I don't have the ability to flare, this is 10mm steel, I can't flare that myself. So what I'm going to do is cut it. I'm going to use a compression fitting, and that's the only compression fitting I've got on the whole system. Everything else has been flared, or it's these sort of barbed connectors. So that connects up like this, so it goes on to this fuel fitting. This is a compression fitting going into a hose tail, so it's got like the barbs that go inside there with the FI connector or clamp. I need to make sure this is the correct length, but the first thing is to get this in, and before I can get this in I need to cut down my U-tube. So I'm just going to offer it back up to the wheel. I should just double check the height. I did it earlier. Basically this touches the it's like an expansion tank or whatever it is, like that goes across the top of that inner wheel arch. It touches the top there, so I was going to cut it about that high. That gives me time to get a chance to get the compression fitting in like that, and the hose bends over neatly. So I think that should be about right. But I'm just going to double check before you cut. Measure twice, cut once, and then we'll get on with it. But I'm quite looking forward to getting that in. This is quite one of the bigger jobs, again, sort of symbolically, because it's the driver of the fuel system. Once this is in, I'm going to then move to the fuel tank, and we'll get the fuel tank back in, and then we can start pumping fuel, just see that it comes out, flush it through. All the time I'm aiming towards getting the fueling system, the CIS or Bosch, whatever you want to call it, on that's sitting here on the engine. I want to get that in and get fuel pumping through it to make sure it doesn't leak. I still haven't managed to do that. And now I see that I can actually connect it all up with the proper pipes and everything and see it come through before the engine goes in, so we'll sort of suspend it in the engine bay. It should be a bit of fun. Right, this is in the wheel arch. I've just sort of temporarily put the accumulator and fuel filter in. So this is using the original bracket, and as you can see I've got, there's about probably 2 centimeters until it touches this sort of vapor tank up the top there, if you can see. So I know that there's a little bit of space for my pipe. So if the pipe is coming off here, coming up and sort of ended about here, this isn't the, I don't know, this is the breather pipe or something, I don't know.
then there would be enough room for me to put the flex in. It comes all the way across and then sort of meets, and there's some sort of these hooks and things that carries the pipe across the wheel arch. So that, I'm pretty sure that'd be fine. Then at the bottom end, I've got this hose tail waiting for a connection to go onto that hose tail. That's, I don't know, 7 inches or something like that. And that goes off, obviously that's the supply going down to the engine. This bracket here, I cleverly sort of cut and fabricated it, or fabricate's the wrong word, bent it up to make like a U, sort of a semicircle that I can put a clamp around, Jubilee clamp. And that'll hold the fuel filter in there quite neatly. It's a new filter. Obviously, I am winging it with the old accumulator. They're silly expensive, so I'm just going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll scrap it and get a new one. But it won't stop the car starting. It'll just cause hot start problems, which I'm not worried about at the moment. Right, there's the cut down U-bend. You can see it's got a little flare on there for the fitting, so that should go into the fuel filter nicely. I've cut the end off there. I'm just going to sort of loosely file that end, just get rid of the rough burrs that I've no doubt created. Right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's let that fit on there. So the compression fitting can go on like that. Now what I'm debating is whether I need to put any sealant inside there. I don't think I do. I don't think I gain anything by doing that. It may even stop the olive working effectively. So I think I'll just leave it dry for the moment. If there's any problems, obviously I can just replace it. It's not a big deal. They're not big cost items. I think it's £2 or something. So I think we'll just go ahead and try and do up the fitting. Get it. Right, so this going into the accumulator. So let's do that one now. That should be straightforward. So I've got no idea if this accumulator works still. Yep, that's just one of those things. If it doesn't, we'll just swap it out. But it's obviously cheaper just to try it. So that's what we'll do. I'll paint a little bit of this fuel seal around the thread. Hopefully it's in focus, so you can see. No one's ever told me how much of this to put on, or any of these kind of sort of sealants. So if you know, please leave a comment if I put too much, too little. I try and just put a little bit around all the thread. I don't know whether I should be coating it in it or just a little bit like that is fine. But that'd be really useful if someone could tell me that. There's a bracket that comes around. I'm just going to have to wiggle that or adjust it. I cut a lump off of it so that it misses this fitting. But no matter where wherever I put this pipe, it's going to foul on it anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So we can just do this up nice and tight now. And I think these are the wrong sizes. This is a 19, so that's okay. But that's a 17 mil, I believe. Yeah, that's as tight as that's going to go. Alright, great. We are getting there. In the process of sort of trying this out, this has got pretty scratched up, so I'm tempted to put another lick of paint on there, but we'll decide that in a minute. So that's going to go off to the hose tail, which is there, like that. So that's looking pretty good. I'll just start that like that. So at the bottom end, I've got the fuel filter. Now what I've had to do here is by a straight coupling, because without this fitting, I don't know if you can see, without this fitting, my U-bend here fouls on the filter. So what I did, I put this straight fitting in, and that gives me, I don't know, a couple of centimetres extra that allows it to fit. Without it, you can see it will clash. So with this fitting, it just spaces it out a little bit more. So this fitting needs putting in properly, so let's do that now as well. So that's now tight onto there, and then we need to
to put this into there. That thread's a little bit grubby, so I'm going to get wire brush and quickly give it a scrub. Also, so I'm going to put the sealant on here. Again, I'm not really worried. If there is a leak or anything, I'll happily come back around and replace. And we need to give this a proper testing anyway, so. I just realised the camera was full when I was recording that. So all I've done is put some fuel seal on the thread of the accumulator pipe and then lock on the fuel filter. So that's on there now. So I'm going to let that set, and then all that's left to do is to attach the hose tail onto there. I'm going to take it off the hose. The hose isn't actually the correct length, it's just so I didn't lose the fitting. Attach that onto there, and this side is ready now for the pipe going from the filter down to the supply line going up to the engine. The next job though is to mount this on the car. Right, I've just put the fuel filter in with the Jubilee clamp. I'll just tighten up a little bit more. Oops. This is catch on nicely about there. About there, it should catch on. If not, I'll have to bend the bracket a little bit more just to make it fit a bit better, but it should be alright. That's pretty good. Okay, so, and I'll just buzz the surplus off with my Dremel. That's nice and tight. Then at the top, I'm using the original bracket. If I just angle, you can see what I've got up there a little bit more. So can you see this bit? Yeah. So I just need to put a nut through the bit here that holds the bracket together, and that'll be held really. I mean, that's really tight in there actually. So that's good. Then we'll put a hose on. I've got about probably 10 to 15 centimeters on top of the hose tail here. That will be enough to loop over the top to the fuel pump. So now let's put the fuel pump in. Up under the wheel arch here then, this is the bracket that we're going to use for the pump. That's what was used before. And I'm using the sort of makeshift bracket that the previous people had used. I'm not that happy with it, but for the moment, it's what I'm going to use. And I'll probably look to change it out in the future. I'm just looking to see how I get it up there, which I think is there. There we go, right, so that's in there loosely. Then we've got the flexible hose that's going to go all the way across the top here. Maybe naively I'm expecting to be able to sort of cut through this with a Stanley knife. And then all we need to do is pop that pipe on top of the fitting. If we can. Oh, it's certainly, I've allowed enough length, so it's just a matter of working on. Oh, it's on, okay, good. And then tighten up that FI fitting and we're good. Or the clamp, I should call it, sorry. Right, I think that is the fuel pump in. So the fuel pump's there with a banjo on top. Pipe goes all the way around the top of the wheel arch, comes into the top, into the, there's a hose tail there going into the fitting, which is this nice U-bend, goes up into the accumulator, straight back down into the fuel filter, which goes into a hose tail there. Pipe goes down into another hose tail that is then in with this sort of a flared fitting into the hard fuel line that goes off to the front of the engine. So I think that is all present and correct now. What I need to do is, obviously I've just wired in sort of temporarily. I just want to check now that that actually works, but also put the fuel tank in. That's the big hole under there. Once the fuel tank is in, then I can run the pipe from the bottom of the fuel pump that is green right in front of you to the bottom of the fuel tank. Okay, so I've got the battery connected up. Then up the front here, underneath, we've got a jump lead attached to the starter motor wire. I've put it in the box and sort of lidded it so that nothing can touch it. Then in the engine bay, I've got the other end of this jump lead attached to the jump post, which is just here. Again, I've put it inside a plastic container so it doesn't touch anything else. Now turning the key and we get a whir on the fuel pump. So I know things are happening down the back there. We also have a few lights on. One of the gauges is working. If I just turn off again. Definitely some stuff going on. The handbrake light on over there. So it's good. We're getting somewhere. Right, I'm not going to try and push it on any further this week. As I say each week, I'm really pleased with how far I've got. And part of that's probably because I'm surprised I can do anything on this. We've got the pump pumping. We've seen it burst for 3 seconds on the initial turn of the key. Filter, all the pipework's in there. It's all tightened up correctly. I'm really happy with that. So next week we're going to be looking at getting the fuel tank in, actually pushing some fuel around, flush it out, and then what I want to try and do is actually get a continuous loop of the fuel going round. I think that'd be a really good place to get to. Kind of proves it all works, there's no leaks and everything. And then where I'm trying to get to ultimately is to get the, before the engine goes in, is to get the fueling system actually sort of in and suspended within the engine bay, connected up correctly, and check that it can push fuel out the injectors without leaks. That'll be testing the distributor and stuff like that. Really pleased with that. And also the 911's been out this week, so we've had a bit more sunshine, covers come off, been out for a blast in it. I'm not sitting on the wing, don't worry, I'm just sort of propped gently against it. So a couple of you have asked for me to do some reviews of it, so I'll try and do one in the coming weeks, maybe in the next month or so. I'm not good at reviews, so we'll see how that goes. But as ever, let's wrap up. Thank you for watching. Click the subscribe, like, comment. I really do like the comments, so do leave some. And I'll see you next time.